Hey, hi, good afternoon, fellow Liberians. I know right now it's around 12 something in the US, and I think it's around 12, 30, 35, 42, 12:42 years, so it's like maybe 4:42 in Liberian time. So I want to just say welcome to the melting pot. And this is a regular talk show where we get involved in discussions in things that are happening in Liberia. So it's a pleasure being on your YouTube channel, on your Facebook channel, and on your LinkedIn channel. So if you're getting me where you are, I want to say if you're on YouTube, please subscribe or hit that subscribe button. If you're on Facebook, I want to say welcome also. And yeah, follow me if you can, and share this live. LinkedIn, send me a friend request. I will answer your friend request. I know I am a very highly followed character on LinkedIn. So yeah, if mine being a friend to you on LinkedIn can help boost your credibility for others to friend you, please send me a friend request. I will honor it. All right, especially if you're from Liberia. I try helping a lot of Liberians on University of Liberia who are trying to set up their LinkedIn profile, and they're looking for high profile individuals like myself to give their own profile some credibility as they try to build their own followership. I don't hesitate to do that so that my visibility can also help you when people are trying to decide whether they will follow you on LinkedIn or not. So if I see your friend request, I will honor it as a fellow Liberian. So it's a pleasure being in your space wherever you are. And the melting pot is where we discuss issues relative to Liberia and other parts of the world, but especially Liberia, trying to make our voice heard in Liberia on diverse issues that are happening in our country. So today I will be talking about the neglecting of health care facilities in Liberia in favor of health care services outside of Liberia. There's a conversation we've been having for a long time in Liberia, and the recent travel of our First Lady, Madam Ketumo Boyka, to Ghana for healthcare services, like our president also have done a couple of times between 2023 and now. It's important for us to talk about, not because we just want to criticize, and because it is the president or his wife we want to criticize. No, it's just not about that. It's about talking about how can we ensure the future of our country in terms of healthcare. Because you see, healthcare is not just about high profile individual in our country, it's about just anyone, any Liberian for that matter. So why it's true that others may have the opportunity to be able to afford advanced healthcare outside of Liberia, what happens to the majority of the Liberians who cannot afford that luxury of getting healthcare outside? So we have to keep talking on these things to create the awareness and strengthen the argument for us to improve on healthcare in our country. Another thing we want to talk about quickly before we leave you is the government of Liberia, a new fiscal rules. All right, so the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning issue a new fiscal rule, and we want to have a little conversation around that. And the conversation we want to have around that is that, listen, there are some things in the rules that are good, right? But at the same time, there are some things that needs to be flagged. A couple of things, but today I will just flag just one thing in that new fiscal rule from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. Thank you for coming on. Please share the show. And then, last but not the least, I will be talking about a police report that was released today. And that police report is in reference to the Capitol building where Representative Yeka Koluba's vehicle was drilled into because it was said to have been parked in a parking spot that supposedly is supposed to be reserved for the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And so we will be talking to that issue as well. So again, welcome to the Melting Pot. I'm Dr. Clarence R. Pearson, and it's a pleasure being on your in your social media space. Please share the show. All right. So let us talk now about the neglecting healthcare facilities in Liberia in favor of getting advanced medical care, medical service outside of Liberia. To begin this lecture, this comment, my own critique of that whole thing is to first say that I value the life and the health of Madam Ketumu Boakai, the wife of the President of the Republic of Liberia. I value her life, and I feel that if she is in need of medical attention, and that will require her going outside of the country to get that the kind of quality care that she needs, she should get that care. I think any Liberian should have that opportunity also, irrespective of whether we have a strong healthcare system in our country or not. If there is a health condition that you find yourself in and you need to be taken out of the country, if you have the resources, I think you should do that. It is in your best interest. It's in the best interest of your family. It's in the best interest of your loved ones. It's in the best interest of those who have some level of interest in your well-being. So having said that, we also want to notice that the reason we're having this conversation is not because that we all individually are not entitled to good health care, whether in country or out of country. The reason why we're having this conversation is because our country, for many years, and President Boyka is on record for making the same comment that we've neglected our own healthcare system in order to go outside there and to seek other healthcare services. And because we do that, what happens to our country is that those who are in authority, those who are in places is because they have opportunity to go outside, they here need for us to be what is happening in we tell ourselves, okay, we do this. How is that done? If you notice a break in transmission is because of my connectivity. This I work for the state, so majority of our buildings huge, and so and it's designed so that sometimes we have very low cell, connectivity. So forgive me if you find that problem once in a while. So yeah, so we understand that anyone for that matter who has health conditions that will help them get out of the country and be something better for their health, we can do that. But our country has been denied proper healthcare facilities because politicians, be it from the top, from presidents to representatives and senators, to chief justices and justices of the Supreme Court, or to government officials, once they are in a position of privilege and they can afford, they all run us out for healthcare services. And what that does is that it leaves our country in a state of underdevelopment. And I think this is why I think it is bad for Liberia, right? If you listen to me, I had a friend who traveled from the United States and went to Liberia, a young guy. And for some reason, he took sick, right? And he didn't have, usually what we do when we're traveling from the United States to go to Liberia, we you have an opportunity to sign up on international insurance. And what the international insurance does is that health insurance, what the international health insurance does is that if you have a medical condition that is a major emergency, you call them directly and they bring in a plane or chopper or whatever the case is, a charter flight, and they fly you out of wherever you are in the world. They'll fly out of that and bring you either to they take you to a nearest high quality health facility to get you that quality of care you need. Or worst case scenario, they'll bring you back to the United States. But it's within that that plan for insurance, health insurance. And I encourage anyone who is traveling from the diaspora, it may not be the United States, anywhere else in the world, because it's an international insurance plan. I encourage you to take that plan. Because I had this friend who when he went to Liberia and he took sick, they took him to ELW hospital. Before they could really get to diagnose what was actually wrong with him, and before family members and friends could even get to get him out of the country, he died. A very young guy. And he's not the only person that has happened to him. But the thing we're trying to say here is that that should not be the case for Liberia. And the reason I'm saying this again also is because even if you are a government official, president, whoever the case is, there are times there are some emergency. The time they will take to fly you out of Liberia will be too late. Will be too late. For instance, a recent case is the case of Prince Johnson. The case of Prince Johnson. So Prince Johnson ended up in a situation where he finds himself in a healthcare facility that could not provide him the quality of care he needed to prolong his life, even though he may have had some physical cash, but there are processes. Liberia is not as advanced like other countries where you have available planes are parked, at the airport, and then you can just jump on a plane and at any time and charter and leave Liberia. It doesn't work like that. And if you want to charter flights, sometimes you have to charter them from outside of Liberia. They have to fly into Liberia before flying out of Liberia. And in most cases, those arrangements take time. All right. So this is what I want to say. Our government must, and then I will go to something else because I want to leave early. Our government must, if possible, not if possible, but must ensure that even if it is just the JFK, bring the JFK to international standard. Bring JFK to international standard. And to do that requires a deliberate investment in that institution. A deliberate, when we say deliberate investment, it means you make up your mind and tell yourself that, look, this investment is something that we must do, whether we want to or not. Not just for us as what you call privileged citizens, but for the ordinary Liberians. It is sad to see ordinary Liberians die from curable diseases. It is sad to see ordinary Liberians die from preventable, healthcare emergency. Especially a country that is 177 years old. A country that is 177 years old. Countries like Ghana, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, I mean, they are babies to Liberia. So if Ghana can achieve that level of advancement in the healthcare that we can leave on Liberia and go there for healthcare services, even at the presidential level, why can't we do the same for Liberia? And there are three things that are necessary to achieve that. Three things, and I go to the next topic. One, if it costs you for the Liberian government, if it costs us to put at least five major doctors, pay them well, five major doctors in critical skill area in the medical field to be at JFK. Critical area, pay them to be there. Five major doctors in five specialties. I mean, world class trained doctors, right? Pay them that good money to be there to provide those services. Second, Even if it is just, it may not be the, somebody think about making the whole hospital modern. No, that's not the case. You can have a section of the hospital that is brought to top notch tech, technological and equipment status, bring it to speed, that those five doctors in those critical areas can perform any major surgery or have access to any major medical tool and equipment, to do their work. Ensure that is done. And the third thing, I said three. The third thing, depoliticize healthcare in Liberia. When I say depoliticize healthcare in Liberia, do not make healthcare an issue where politicians are afraid to go to JFK, because if you want to go to JFK, somebody can bribe and they can take their life. Whether it is for the president, whether it's for representative, whether it's for government official, minister, whether it's for opposition or government officials, depoliticize the healthcare. If you cannot depoliticize the entire healthcare system, then depoliticize that specialty, that top-notch section of our hospital that is to cater for major emergencies. Depoliticize it. Let those doctors that are assigned there, and nurses that are assigned there, and physician assistants that are assigned there has no political allegiance whatsoever to individuals, but to the oath that they take as healthcare practitioner. And I think that would do well for our country. And then let our government officials trust those institutions and allow themselves to be catered for in Liberia. And then the money that they will take to spend outside of Liberia can be used to maintain our healthcare system in Liberia there. Let's go to the second issue. Like I said, I want to be on time. Let's go to the second issue. Government of Liberia released what they call the new fiscal rule from the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. So they released what they call the new fiscal rule. And the new fiscal rule is like financial policy where it used to govern, macroeconomic or macro, the same word MRMA spelled almost pronounced the same. So if I try to pronounce it differently, it may not come out well. But the fiscal rule is to ensure that there's some level of fiscal discipline. In the word fiscal rule, the word fiscal had to do with financial and management in the timeline. Like when they say your fiscal budget is with your financial economic budget that includes your income and your expenses within the time frame. So this fiscal rule is our economic policy right now, emergency economic policy based upon what is happening with USAID, leaving Liberia and leaving that funding gap. And we're looking for money now. We want to tie our waste in other areas, cut waste here and there. Even though some of us feel that there are other critical decisions that we can take when it comes to that, but this decide to start with this, right? So there's so much in there that we can talk one time, but there's one thing in there that I want to bring up that I feel is important, and it has to do with travel and representation, international travel and representation. And then when we have the time and God gave us long life, we probably might talk on other things. So when it comes to travel, so the fiscal rule, I'm not sure whether this rule was developed from a cabinet conversation, whether it was informed by consultancy in the area of expertise and for foreign policy in relations and stuff like that. I'm sure the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was a part of this conversation. I'm not just sure if how widespread this consultation was around formulating this rule. All right, but let me just say this: what caught my attention is something in fiscal policy we refer to, or in public policy we refer to as equity. Whether any kind of law or any kind of procedures, social rules and norms and regulations, whatever you want to call it, anything that governs people, direct people actions and things, it's called equity. And let me take some time to explain what equity is so that we understand. Equity is different from equality, right? So in when you're discussing equality in development planning, equality is where you try to uh, um, treat everybody the same, right? Equality is everybody should be treated the same. So when someone says there's no equality in this law, it means everybody's not treated the same way in this law. Example would be say John Brown took Mary a car and stole it, and then she went to court, and then they gave her, they say the pattern the race, gave her just 2 months in jail. Peter goes and steal the same car and did the same crime, and he went to jail, went to court, and they gave him maybe 20 years in jail. Then he said like, there's not there's no equality in the law. How how you deliver on the law, how you execute the law, how you implement the law. There's then he said there's no equality in there. Equity, on the other hand, has another look to it, right? So in development planning, when they talk about equity, I want you to imagine this, right? So say let's just say a family of three. And in this family of three, you have the mother, the father, and maybe a child. It could be a girl child or a boy child, right? And then they all went to a I would say 5 foot fence. I would say 5 feet, but I want to say 5 foot fence. 5 foot fence mean the fence is 5 feet high. And then the father, just for the purpose of illustration, not actual story. Say the father is 5 feet tall, 5 feet, let's say 5 feet 8, like me, I'm 5'8", right? So the father is 5 feet 8. So meaning if the father stand behind that wall, he can see what is across from him. He can see beyond the wall because he's taller than the wall. He's 5'8". So 5'8" means 5 feet 8 inches. So then say the mother is maybe, since the let's say the wall is 5'4", say the mother is 4'6", so she's a couple of inches short. If she 4'6", then she's 6 inches shorter. 4 feet 6 inches. Maybe she just need another 6 inches to be 5 foot, or maybe another 6 7 inches to be a little above the wall to see behind it. So then in that picture I'm trying to pin, if the father stand behind the wall, he can see behind the wall. All right. If the mother stand at 4 feet 6 in front of a 5 foot wall, she cannot see beyond the wall. To see beyond the wall, she needs additional, say, 7 inches or 8 inches, something high that she can stand on. So if she has that extra inches to stand on, that put her behind beyond the 5 foot wall, then she can see behind it. Then say she has her son, which is the third person in this picture, and this son is 3 feet, right, tall. So in order for him to see across that wall, he needs at least, to add to his 3 feet, he needs at least something, maybe a box or a brick that is about additional 2 point something, 2 feet and maybe 1 inches or 2 inches, that will put him now above the wall. So if you look at the bottom of the foot, when all of those adjustments are made, equity is designed right there to show that in order for the father to see beyond the wall, he doesn't need any extra help. In order for the mother to see beyond the wall, she needs some extra help. In order for the son to see beyond the wall, he needs even extra more help. So for equity to be seen in that picture, the mother and the son should have assistance. The father does not need assistance. Right? So when they all get the requisite assistance they need to put them at the same height to see beyond the wall, then we say equity has been achieved. So even though the father did not get help, he cannot complain because he's already at that level. The mother cannot complain that the son is getting even more help because she is already at her level based upon how much help she got. And then the son, because of the help he's giving, equates him to that of his father and his mother so they all can have the same view. That's what they call equity. So equity does not necessarily mean I have to give to individual in order for all of them to get the same status in society. Some will need more than the other. That's the concept. So when I say I don't see equity in what I'm about to talk about, this is what I mean. So the rule says that well, there are several institutions that when it comes to traveling, international travel, that some things will apply. So, for instance, let me list a couple of. So, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of State, the Ministry of Defense, the Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Finance and Development Planning. According to that fiscal policy, they can have 5 officials that will have to travel on a foreign trip just in case all of that money is coming from national budget. They cannot travel with more than 5 people, and I think it's excluding or including the minister proper, right? So say if I'm Minister Kafwan and I'm traveling, I can take 4 people with me. The fiscal rule challenged me not to take more than 4 people. Unless I can take a second look, maybe it's the 5 people plus the minister proper, but I think it's around something like that. Anyone outside of that 5 group that I just named, then they said you have to have 3 people, and inclusive in there also, or one over that 3 people will have to be the minister. Now, when I look at that critically, and I'm thinking to myself, how did they come up with that? Is it based on the relevance of the ministry, or did they measure it based on the work that they do? Because take for instance, Ministry of Agriculture, Liberia needs to catapult its agriculture standing so that we go beyond that backwardness of us depending on importing all the little food stuff that we're importing from us. I want to be self-sufficient in food. Then in my mind, I'm asking myself, how is restricting Dr. Nuta from Ministry of Agriculture make sense as compared to restricting the defense minister, finance minister, foreign affairs minister? Matter of fact, the foreign affairs minister has more external staff, meaning people in foreign services across the world, more people across the world in foreign service than any other government ministries and agencies. So that does not make them. So how did they come? The, what level of thinking went into that? That's just one example I'm giving. I'm just saying sometimes when Liberia, sometimes when the things we do, we take for granted, right? We take for granted because we base the decisions, we base the policies on big shot mentality, big shots mentality, and not all practical assessment, practical evaluation of how that policy affect the country, so that we are able to understand the ramifications of what we let see. So defense minister from why would the defense ministry be traveling out of the country with 5 people, and then the Ministry of Agriculture cannot travel with more than 5 people? The Ministry of Agriculture, when Ministry of Agriculture is more pivotal, a sector that we need to take to the next level, to take to the next level. Why? So why is that restriction on Dr. Nuta? No, don't get me wrong. I have nothing personal like interest in Dr. Nuta. I just have strong passion for agriculture, because agriculture plays a major part in the arrest agenda right now as we speak. Agriculture is number one. The arrest agenda, agriculture is number one. So what make finance minister more important than agriculture minister when it comes to foreign travel? No, I'm not saying finance minister is not important. I'm saying in comparison. Why? So it's just that big man mentality. That's what's in my head. It's not a policy thinking. It is not a developmental thinking. It is just based on, okay, these are the 5 big shots that must have this privilege. And it is not on the technical critical level thinking that these are the areas that you have no unnecessary restriction on how they can make moves to improve the country. Yeah, it just doesn't make no, it just make no, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. And I think, like I said, I'm blaming this on what I refer to the big shot mentality in how we do things. And to, I know some of you think I just want to criticize government. Don't forget, I said the fiscal policy, fiscal rule is good. It's a good thing that it go in that direction. But I'm just pointing out some of the things that I see is wrong with it, and it has to do with some fundamental issues and problems we have as a country. We do policies and things, but we do not some of the things we do is more of the big shot mentality, is more of sentimental approach, is more of an emotional approach, is more people centered. We target people that we want to benefit rather than the technical thinking, the technical mindset behind what we plan to do. And that's why we don't see it deliver the results that we need to see. And I cite the agriculture ministry for an example. And there are other areas I can cite even as a greater example. Now, somebody will say there's a provision in there where they said if the person wants to carry more than 5 people, or more than 3 people, I should say, like for agricultural ministry wants to carry more than 3 people, then you have to get the president's consent, which is a provision to counter that negative that I'm talking about, that negative planning I talked about. But I appreciate that provision. But the fact that it is designed the way it is designed is the reason why I'm raising the concern, because it questions the level of thinking, the level of expertise that went behind it. That's what I'm concerned about. So let me buttress what I'm saying. So that same policy on the issue of foreign travel says something. So privileges were given to whether you can fly business class or you can fly economic class. And for a lot of our Liberian people who have not traveled before, let me explain that a little bit. So, economic class is the seat in the plane that majority of the people will sit on when they're on the plane. The majority of the people, you just buy a flat rate ticket or you buy a cheap ticket. Everybody get on the same in the same area in the plane. They call it economic class, right? And then you get the business class. The business class, when you feel you big shot, and maybe you want to be comfortable, you want to sit in a comfortable environment, more spacious, nobody squeezing you up and things. Then they say you go to business class. And some planes even get more than a business class. They get economic, they got executive suite. It depends on the kind of plane you're riding in. They get even more comfortable sides as place spaces. But this is what we're trying to say, right? So now they came to a section, they came to an era where they had to mention who can sit in business class and who can sit in economic class. To justify my perception of what I saw and arguing about comes right in there again. So the saying in the fiscal rule is saying, all right, so who can ride business class and who can ride economic class? The general era and the smallest special era if you want to be comfortable. They said this. Of course, if the president is on there, he can ride business class. Nobody going to question that, right? Of course, when the vice president is on the plane, anybody want the vice president to ride the business class, correct? If the Speaker of the House of Representatives is on a plane, all right, a public plane, of course, we want the Speaker of the House to ride business class. Makes sense. Senate pro tempore, if the Senate pro tempore, which is the head of the senators, is on a plane, maybe it's not a private plane, it's a public plane. So of course, yeah, it makes sense. Even though the country broke, but yeah, please, man, ride business class. What Chief Justice, all right, from the Supreme Court? Oh yeah, 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 ride business class. Associate justices, oh yeah, 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 ride business class, right? Because they are the head of the different branches of government. But then when you read there, it goes back to what I mentioned with the big shot mentality and how it comes into, it's a form of corruption. It is a form of corruption and how it comes into our policy. Listen to this. Then it said, and means in addition to the president, vice president, the speaker, the pro tempore, and the associate justices and the chief justice, God, they have the audacity to put big shots there also. So remember now what I'm saying, that you just listed the most senior heads of the three branches of our Liberian government. And then it say, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ego, Minister of Finance, Minister of Defense, Minister of State. Which of the branch of government these people heading that will put them in a class of vice president, speaker, pro tempore, and associate justices and the chief justice? What branch of government these or the other group heading? Minister of Foreign Affairs, Minister of Finance, Minister of Defense, Minister of State. What branch of government they heading? You know, I bring this to say that when time come for government in governance, when the time come for government to make hard decisions for the betterment of the country, it is at that point that government cannot be playing big shots, because what it tells us, the critical mind, people with critical mind, what it tells people with critical mind, that there are exceptions to the rules, that there are exceptions to the rules. So if the rule says Liberia is in a tight spot right now, and besides the president, the vice president, the speaker, and the senate pro tempore, and the associate justices are the only people that will be riding business class, what gave a minister an audacity to compare themselves with the heads of the branches of government? What gave them that audacity? It's the big shot mentality. It's the big shot mentality. As far as I'm concerned, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Defense, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Minister of State, the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Commerce, the Minister, every minister of the different cabinet within the cabinet, they may not be equal in the sense of the prestige of the work and the technicality of the work that they are doing, but they are all an appointed official at that same level. They are literally on the same level. It's the same in America. They can call them secretaries. They can call them ministers. They call them secretaries. So President Joe Biden or President Donald Trump appoints all his secretaries that are on a lateral level of employment, all of them on a lateral level, which means they are in a straight line, that is all of them on the same line. In as much as their job different and it come with different quality and values attached to them, how they perform in the sensitivity of the job, but they are all secretaries. They are all ministers in Liberia. They are all ministers. So what gave these other ministers the audacity to think that they are good enough to run business class along with the heads of government? What am I saying? Am I saying that the different roles that they're playing is not important? No, the roles are important. Are their roles significant compared to maybe the roles of other people, depending on the kind of job that they do? Well, yeah, their role may be significant. But when you're saying that you're coming down as a country in an emergency situation with strong policy, hard policy, that policy must be equitable. I should want to say it should be equitable. Everybody should be at the same level. That's what I'm saying. So listen, no, we cannot do this and feel that if you want to make laws and you want to make rules and you make it flexible for some people and you make it not flexible for other people, then you think that you're doing the right thing. You are not doing the right thing. We are still in that stage of corruption, but at different level. It's almost like you got sore on your foot and they say go treat the sore, and then you expose the sore to certain level and you hide the other side that is infected, and you say just treat this side and let the side remain covered. Listen, what am I saying here? Our country is not going nowhere If we get cancer on our foot and we carry the foot to amputate the foot, but you leg and the cancer is right above the knee, and say, you know what, I leg my knee so much, and because I want to give my knee special treatment, so cut the cancerous foot below the knee. Even if you cut the cancerous foot below the knee, the cancer that between the knee and over the knee will infect the rest of the other thigh, and you end up maybe cutting the whole foot from there later on, or you end up destroying the entire body. If you want to fight corruption, if you want to do good governance, and you strengthen our country, when you say we tying our waist, there should be no sacred cow. That's what I'm saying. There should be no sacred cow apart from heads of government, president, vice president, speaker, pro tempore, maybe deputy speaker, I would say, pro tempore, associate justice, because in the associate justices, the chief justice will fall there. When you say that, then that you close the book, no exception to that rule. Because if you what make these ministers to be equated to the heads of our government? That's where I think, and look, that's why we say President Boakai. And he's not the person to run Liberia right now, because for some reason that 40 plus year experience is not adding up. That 40 years experience is not adding up. No, it's not adding up, because people are doing things right under the president nose, and he is not picking them up. I will make a name for myself if I were president, if I said I see the fiscal policy, but there's no exception to this rule. If we say that only the heads of government will ride business class, only the head of government will ride business class. Every other minister appointed by me will ride economic class. Simple. Which means the country understand there's a serious situation we got here. And whoever you are, you got to fall in line so we can solve this together. I cannot give exception to the rule. And I think that's why lacking in our country, too much exception to the rule. And I repeat this analogy I give. If your foot get cancer above the knee, and you go to address the cancer, and you amputate the foot below the knee, you cut the foot below the knee, the side the knee that you left there because you want to give special treatment to yourself, you like the side of the knee so much, the body so much, you won't cut it off too. The knee that is cancerous will end up affecting everything else above the knee, and you either end up losing the whole foot, or you lose the whole body. And that's what's suffering Liberia today. People want to give special privileges to big shots and big names. Gafan is the one who doing the budget. I agree. Gafan is the one who is managing the expenditure of the budget. I agree. The money coming through and everybody getting paid in the country. I agree. But does that mean you get extra treatment in a austerity measure that will benefit the country? No, no. If there is a policy decision that's going to affect every appointed official in government, from minister proper, Gafwan, defense minister, finance minister, foreign affairs minister, everybody should bear the same way, because that will make them serious enough to solve the problem. But if they get special treatment, rather than above their friends, they all play hanky panky, because the burden, they are feeding the burden of the austerity as well. And I want to move on now to the Liberia, the National Police report, Liberia National Police report, on the issue about uh the drilling into Representative Yeka Koruba's vehicle. Now, let me make certain things clear, right? Because far too often people say, oh, that's just politics. This one is about the rule of law. It's not about politics, because the rule of law is lacking in Liberia right now. We're struggling when it comes to the rule of law in Liberia right now. So, my conversation on this thing is about the rule of law and not about just politics. And let me tell you, let me make some disclaimer. So, I do not support the behavior of Yeka Koloban, with his cursing, and his cursing Mancos, cursing Pacos, and cursing government official, president, everybody. I'm not in favor of that. Let me say that quite frankly. I don't support that, and I'm not in favor of that. Now, with the things that happen in the national legislature, let me be clear also. I do not see any other speaker in there outside of Speaker Jay Fonati Kofa as the legitimate speaker, because the so-called majority black have not gotten the 49 votes to remove him according to law. So let me be clear on that. So you can say, oh, I already know the guy biased. No, I'm talking about giving him a disclaimer. So let's talk about the LMP report. Let's take the LMP report by face value. So first of all, the LMP report is contradictory in two ways. One, the LMP report suspends two officers on grounds of drilling into Representative Koluba's vehicle, forcefully entering into Representative Koluba's vehicle. Let me establish that. The police investigation, current investigation report that they gave, they said they suspended uh, 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 Chief Inspector Frank P. Bender for 2 months without pay. They also suspended Sergeant Sam Kaba, 1 month suspension without pay. But then when they come down in the same report, follow me closely, they says they are recommending that should any link be established between the officers and alleged crime, the same incidents, if there's any link between alleged crime, then this guy should be further investigated under the Crimes Services Division of the National Police, and then further action should be taken. But this is the contradiction. So they're suggesting that a crime did not happen. So I'm not sure what they're talking about. Because if they're suggesting that further criminal investigation is needed to establish these guys who they suspended, then why did they suspend them if no crime happened? So why were they suspended? If you're not sure that a crime happened, why did you suspend them? The contradiction here is that the mere fact that you enter somebody's car forcefully is a crime. It's a criminal offense. They call it breaking the entry. In fact, they call that it's theft. The man already told you that things got missing from his vehicle. It's a criminal liability for theft. You don't have to see the physical thing that got missing. No, the police don't have to see all the things that got missing from their first. No, the police have to have the allegation that yeah, they broke into the person's car and the man said things got missing. Charge the people to court. Charge them to court. And then it is the court now the evidence will be adduced in court to clarify or to justify through adjudication whether it is true that they committed the crime or they did not commit the crime. Why they say that? Why would you want to suspend them and not charge them to court, and you alleging that a possible crime may have committed, that your criminal service division will have to go and investigate further? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. There are people in jail in Liberia right now for either breaking somebody's house or breaking somebody's car or breaking into somebody's office, and they're in jail or they're in court. No, you don't suspend them and say, we're pending you go. No, 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 no. So if it were not established that a crime was committed, why you suspended them? The fact that you suspended them, it suggests that a crime was committed. And let me tell you what the first crime that was committed is the fact that they broke into somebody's vehicle. It's criminal. They can be charged to court. And with the fact that they were acting on the orders of someone else, it was criminal facilitation. You guys have charges for that. That's what they call it, criminal facilitation. So they should be charged to court as well. So it's sad in Liberia when we see people playing with the law. You break into somebody, it's criminal entry, and because we're following orders of someone, it's criminal facilitation. They are all crimes under our law. If you're suspending them for that action, which is criminal in nature, then they should have been charged to court. Yeah, you can suspend them, that's the office level, but you can also charge them to court to answer for the crime that they committed. That's the role of the Liberia National Police, to charge people to court. Why were these guys not charged to court? Why are they telling us this? They still want to find link to criminality. So the link to criminality, are they saying that the breaking into the car is not criminal, but they got to establish that something got missing, like Representative Cordoba explained that something got missing, money got stolen, computer got stolen before it will be a crime? You ain't talking to stupid people here. We're not stupid people. If somebody say, if I say somebody broke in my house, will you want to establish that something, you want to see the thing that got missing first organ before you can charge the person to court, or you charge them to court, then I go and provide proof that something got missing, or they provide proof that nothing got missing? Which happened? What happened? Who decides that? It's the court. It's the court. So now, another thing, that another contradiction that I saw in our police report, that I thought is important to mention, is this. They said they're looking for the individual, Jack Traore, the one who the guy who saw in the video was drilling into the car. This police report is saying to us that they are looking to invite this guy for questioning. Oh my God. The representative reported that his car was illegally drilled into. Up to now, this guy, Jack Traore, is not in police custody right now. He has not even been. Are you guys telling us you have not even called this guy to answer question for drilling into somebody? Then on what basis that you suspending the police officers who were there, and you said participated in the situation, but this individual who actually drilled in the car, who had a drill machine, has not been called for investigation up to the time of the report was issued? That you are saying, you are recommending that he should be called, invited for questioning. What sense does that make? Somebody drove into a representative car, and up to this time, you have not called him for questioning, but you suspending police officers who are part of the same activity. So, on what basis you are holding the police officer and we're not holding the individual who was also a participant to the crime? No, it doesn't make sense, man. And then the last thing on this, and then I close. There's something in law or in criminal justice that is called the one that bears the greatest responsibility. We all in Liberia, all of us who are Liberians and in contact with Liberia, we know that the reason why former President Charles Taylor is in jail in The Hague today, the reason why he's in jail in The Hague today is not for crimes that were committed in Liberia, but for crimes that were committed in Sierra Leone. And it's not that he went and physically did the crime himself, but they said in legal terms, they said he bears the greatest responsibility. He bears the greater responsibility for the crimes that were committed there. So even though he was not the one physically doing the crime, but because he had command and control of people who were doing the crime. Command and control means he was giving orders from Liberia and facilitating the crime, maybe providing the instrument to facilitate the crime or providing the means to facilitate the crime. So he was booked on that. Today, that former president is in jail, serving terms, I think up to 50 years in jail for bearing greatest responsibility. This crime that you guys are shy of saying a criminal act happened there, criminal facilitation happened there. This crime that happened in the Capitol building, at the Capitol building, drilling into the honorable man car, breaking into it, entering into it, and he says things got missing. You suspended police people on this. Who others were the police people acting? On who others? Why is it that the order upon which the officers were acting, that individual was not called for questioning, along with the person who physically drove the vehicle? Why the two individuals were not called for questioning? Somebody will say, "Oh, that the police professional division was doing its own investigation." I agree, but the crime was reported to the national police. Even if the police doing their own investigation of their own officials, their own staff members, what stopped the police from investigating the crime in totality from February to now? What stopped the police from investigating the crime? What stopped the police from bringing Jake Tuari to the police to answer questions? What stopped the police from bringing Representative Richard Kuhn, who instructed the guys to carry on the crime and who provided the instrument that was used to execute the crime? What stopped the national police from calling these two individuals to the national police headquarters to answer questions for this crime? And if possible, charge them to court. What stopped them from charging them to court? It goes back to say the same thing I mentioned before. We favor people for political reason, for personal reason, for whatever reason. We want to run a country on the basis of favoritism. It's hurting the country. It's hurting the country. It's hurting the country. You cannot run the country based on big shots and favoritism and just mere politics. What stops? Criminal entry into the main vehicle, criminal facilitation of the crime. All of the person who bears the greater responsibility. Somebody will say, "Oh, but you know, currently the man is the regime speaker. Richard Kuhn, Representative Richard Kuhn is the regime speaker. So how do we cite the whole speaker?" How many times having Liberia National Police invited lawmakers to the office to answer questions about criminal activities? How many times? How many times that has not happened? Even Jay Fonatikova was just there to answer for a criminal activity that happened the very capital building as well. So why is it that Richard Kuhn, Jake Tuare, and these police guys have not been called to answer questions or charged to court based on the evidence that the police have? Why not? Why are we trying to run the country on the issue of sympathy? Who know you? Bigotry, picking and choosing, big man mentality, political mentality, sacred cow. This goes before I close because I want to stay within the 1 hour mark. This goes to say the same thing for the three areas I mentioned today: the healthcare issue, the government of Liberia fiscal rule that they just published, and the LMP report. These three things showing the same signal, the same symptoms that are hurting our country, signs and symptoms of the root cause of some of our problems. The president and big shots go outside the country to get health care and they leave the health facility in our country unattended to. They feel it's not good for them, so they can go outside, but then they cannot make it better for themselves and for the rest of the Liberian people. Big shot mentality. They get the money, they take the public money, and they go outside and get health care. And the poor people die in the country in mass, in numbers. Every day we see media institution doing interview with Liberians, ordinary Liberians. Oh, we're begging for money, or some of you in the diaspora, you're pleasing your father, you're saying things so we can carry the person outside Liberia for healthcare. In the very GFK system, there should be our primary referral hospital. We cannot bring it up to standard. And if you want to see my recommendation or hear my recommendation, go to the beginning of this thing. I said, if the five major areas, healthcare areas, expertise, get five major doctors and pay them well. One section of the hospital, whether it's surgical area or whatever the case is, or wing, bring it up to standard, modern day standard with equipment, facilities, and tools, and everything you can think of, bring up to standards that we can get the best care at that level, at least at that level, JFK. So that the president, the pro temporary, the speaker, everybody can go there for healthcare. And last but not least, I say depoliticize. Take politics out of the healthcare. If you don't want to take politics out of all of the healthcare in Liberia, take it out of that section of GFK that will bring to modern standard. And the doctors should have no loyalty to anybody other than the oath that they take as medical doctors. Yes, and your fiscal rule about who can travel, who cannot travel, all kind of things. No, there should be no big shots. If we are saying no government ministers can ride first business class, no government appointed minister should ride first class. It will be the heads of government and that's it. The president, the vice president, the Senate pro tempore, the speaker, the deputy speaker, the associate justices, within which category the chief justice for? Zero. The other outside of that, all ministers. Don't go give me five more minister, foreign affairs minister, finance minister, minister of defense, minister of state, and then say these are the exceptions. There should be no exception whatsoever. And last but not the least, police, y'all gotta do better, man. That whole report y'all gave there is full of flawed, and then it's not good for the Liberian people. Do better. And I want to say thank you for following me. God bless you.